The Niqabi Diary Season 1 illustrated book is now available in paperback. Own your copy now by clicking the link in the description box. Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to the Niqabi Diary series by The Pen, the sound of sisters raising their voices with the written word. I'm your host Samar, and thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister, I'm fine. Alhamdulillah. You?
Alhamdulillah, very well, thank you. Jazakallah khair. So today we're going to talk to you, sister, about the book, your latest book release. And alhamdulillah, sister, you've authored, I think this is the third book now, right?
Yes, it is. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So if you could, inshallah, tell us, what was your inspiration or motivation for writing this book?
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to have to look at that in like two different answers, I suppose. So like my motivation would be, so I have this thing about writing Muslim tales, you know, just everyday tales of Muslims living their lives the best way they know how, in a way that we generally don't see in popular fiction. And because I've always read a lot, and it's very difficult to find yourself in the books, you know, of popular literature. And even now with the own voices trend, there still seems to be like a certain kind of tale that is palatable to the gatekeepers of publishing in terms of how they write Muslims. So, you know, you've got to kind of write the Islam as a culture, not so much as a religion. And there's some things you can't really talk about. Or, I mean, that's just my own perception. So for me, I want to write the tales of Muslims the way we live it, our own experiences, without necessarily having to make it palatable to the non-Muslim, you know, reader. I mean, if they read the book and they find value in it, then alhamdulillah, but that it's not for them. That's not what I'm doing. So I guess that's my motivation.
So but it's mainly aimed at Muslims, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, mainly. I'm always vocal about the fact that I consider myself as writing Islamic fiction, not just Muslim fiction, but Islamic fiction. So everything is based on, you know, what Islam should be at its core. Yeah, sometimes the characters don't necessarily do what they should, but the ethos of the book, it's about what Islam should be. So some people might not find that, you know, to their taste, but like I said, it's not meant for them.
Alhamdulillah.
As for the second part of your question, the inspiration for Rekiya and Z in particular, I don't really know, because I find it funny every time I tell the story. I was sleeping and then I just woke up and the idea was like totally in my head. So I just wrote it down and then went with it. So that was just the inspiration for it. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so sister, could you tell us what is the book called and what is it about?
So it's called Rekiya and Z. That's my latest book, and it's eponymous for both of the characters. It follows two main characters. They are Nigerian Muslim women. So one of them is Rekiya and the other is Zaynunah. So that's where the name is from, Rekiya and Z. And we meet these women at, you know, in adulthood, and then we get their backstories as being friends while they were teenagers in high school, and how their friendship kind of frayed, you know, as life happened to them. But then they are brought together at some point due to a mutual loss. And we see how that story evolves from that, how they get to build on their friendship and how this helps them navigate family and healing from trauma and loss, and how they leaned into each other to be able to move on from that point onwards. So I think it's a story of, you know, it's a tale of friendship and faith and family and healing from trauma, but also at its essence, it's a story of time and its fickleness. You know, we kind of live our daily lives as if, you know, we have time, but in this tale, we are reminded again that we really don't have time, or at least we don't have as much time as we are deluded to thinking that we do. So that's what it's about.
Alhamdulillah. So,
Alhamdulillah.
who are you aiming this book at in particular? Who's your main targets? Like, is there an age group or anything?
I mean, when I was writing the book, I think at the back of my mind, my reader demographic would be, educated Muslim women who read, obviously, probably between the age bracket of 18 and 50. That's kind of like what I had at the back of my, you know,
Mhm.
mind. But then when I started giving out to beta readers and getting feedback from reviewers, I got a lot of, oh no, this is not, this is not just for these people, everyone can get value from this. And so yeah, anybody who picks it up and picks value from it, alhamdulillah. But that was the demographic at the back of my mind when I was writing.
Alhamdulillah. And what would you say the main message was?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was writing, the main message is just time. Like, we don't have enough time. That's how the story came to me. And I think that's how we kind of evolved. The idea came to me as a tale of, we really don't have enough time. There's a lot of other issues that then, came up as I was writing. So there's a bit of sexual abuse and trauma and
Mm,
childhood abandonment, issues that don't get talked about often enough,
yeah.
divorce and inheritance, and a whole host of other things. But if I had to just pick one major theme, then I would say that it's time, the fickleness of time. Although, ironically, I keep saying that, but the people who have read the book so far, very few people pick up on that theme. So I don't know, maybe I didn't pass my message across or something.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm sure that obviously there's multiple messages, so maybe some. I think there might be
Yeah,
a situation where whatever is for the particular person, that's what they pick up on, isn't it? Because that's usually how it
exactly.
works. So, alhamdulillah.
Exactly. I think that's what's happening, alhamdulillah. Like somebody reads it and the feedback you get is totally different from, what other people have been saying. So I'm just like, whatever, how it goes for you.
Alhamdulillah. So what would you say? What's the kind of genre of this book? Is it kind of a day in the life kind of book? What kind of genre?
No. So I find it difficult to categorize it, but
Mhm.
I've been calling it, contemporary Islamic fiction
Yeah.
or general fiction or women's fiction.
Hmm.
You know, that's kind of like how I've been categorizing it.
Mashallah. So who would you say was your biggest supporters while you was writing this book?
My biggest supporters while I was writing would be my friends.
Hmm.
Like I have like an amazing group of friends. SubhanAllah, may Allah bless these women who've been like they've always supported my writing, but particularly with Rekiya and Z because it was difficult to write at some point. It touches on a lot of nerves. For me personally, as a writer, I had to do a lot of self exploration while I was writing it. So these were my closest friends, and they knew, what I was dealing with. So if I wanted to take a break or if I, took some time off, they supported me in that. But then when it was time to keep, pushing through, they also gave me the nudge. So yeah, my friends were definitely like my greatest supporters.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so what would you say your biggest challenge was when writing this book?
I think my challenge writing this book was it was more a personal thing. Like I hadn't done. I'm not a very open person. I suppose I should start by saying that. So I tend to shy away from things that I feel like would expose me as an individual, in public space. And there's something deeply personal about writing. It doesn't matter how how different the characters are from who you are as a person. So much of your own emotions bleed into your work. And for me, writing Rekiya and Z, there was a lot of that. So I struggled a bit with that, with, trying to dissociate my own emotions, my own issues from the characters' issues, especially in places where they overlapped. Trying to maintain the authenticity of the characters without letting my own issues like overwhelm their own story. So I struggled with that. Apart from the writing, when it comes to the the entire publishing process, I also struggled with I don't know, publicity, I guess, because I'm self-published. And so you don't have like all of the publicity machine behind you to help you promote your work and bring it out to, so many people. And that kind of is important when you're trying to get a book out there. So
Yeah.
those are my two main challenges with, this book.
Mashallah. So where can people find your book?
It's actually on all of the online booksellers, so Amazon, in the book depository, Google Play, Kobo Books, everything. It's everywhere. Like I can send you a link and you can put it up.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
but it's everywhere. It's available as ebook as well as the paperback.
Okay. Is it available as an audio as well?
No, it's not available as audio. I did consider doing that, but I mean, it's a book primarily set in Nigeria, and there were going to be a lot of Nigerian words. So if we're going to do that, I have to find somebody who is familiar with the Nigerian names and the words.
Yeah.
And so I just, for now, it's not. It's just, in book form, ebook as well as paperback.
Ebook and hard copy. Yeah, mashallah. So did you this is your third book that you've authored
Yes.
now, right? So is being an author something that you always aspired to be as a child? Like, is it something that when you was young you always wanted to do?
No, it wasn't. I mean, growing up, writing wasn't something that was seen as viable. And being an African, you always had to pick the viable careers. Like if you were smart and whatever, you had to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, all these so-called traditional professional careers. So writing wasn't seen as something that was, a viable source of income. So I never aspired to being a writer or being an author growing up. And in fact, when I did publish my first two books, they were just they were books that I wrote because I felt the need at that point, and I didn't find a book to fill that void, so I wrote one. I even then I wasn't trying to be an author per se. I just did that. This is my first, attempt of, okay, let's do this author thing and let's see how it goes. So this is my first time being actually serious with it, so to speak. The first two books was just, I just wrote them and then I put it out there. I didn't even bother with, promotion or anything. I just wrote it and put it out there so that whoever wanted that kind of book would find it.
So what are those two books called?
The first one was called Faltering Steps.
Okay.
It was a coming of age novella about a girl that was coming to understand and practice her hygiene better and the kind of challenges she faced. The second book is called Abdullah for the Fertility Challenge Muslim Woman. It's a very long title. And that's actually not fiction. The second one is not fiction. It's a motivational book for women Muslim women that are going through, the challenges of subfertility.
Okay, alhamdulillah, mashallah, that sounds really interesting. I'm sure a lot of sisters can benefit from that also, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
So what advice would you give as somebody who's authored 3 books, but you said you never really aspired to become an author? What advice would you give to other women or anybody who is considering writing a book?
I think that a lot of people say, write, as in just keep writing. So sometimes you would, eventually write a book. Sometimes maybe you wouldn't. But if you do aspire to write a book, you have to keep writing. Like there's no shortcut about it. You have to keep writing. Because ironically, the writing the book part, the writing part of the author journey is probably the easiest part. At least that's my experience. It's the easiest part. It's the things that come after, the editing, the publishing, the promoting, the collaboration, the getting the book out there. Those are things I find difficult. So I usually advise people who say, "Oh, but I want to write a book. I'm like, just write. Just concentrate on that at the moment. Stop. Don't be distracted by the other things that are around it. I want to be the network. I want to, meet people. I want to be active in the industry. I want to." That's just concentrate on the writing first, and then when you have, the book, you have the book you want to write, or you've written the book that's inside of you that you want to birth, then you can start, figuring out how to go about getting it out into the world.
Inshallah.
So
MashaAllah, sister. Jazakallah khair for your advice. And
Alhamdulillah.
giving us the insight about your book. So inshallah, we're going to put all the places that you can find Rekiya Z online, sisters. So if you want to buy the book, sounds like a really interesting book actually. So definitely check out the links in the description for that. And as well, we'll also put the links for your other books that you have released, well, the non-fiction and the your first fiction book that you initially released, inshallah, so that sisters can have a look at those as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. Although the first two were published in Nigeria, so they're currently out of print. I am working on reproducing them for the international market, but it's not yet
available as ebooks.
Not right now. I'm working on it.
Inshallah. Well, once they are available as ebooks, inshallah, then definitely we'll add the link for that as well, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Barakallahu feekum, sister.
Jazakallah khairan.
Wa iyyakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.